You guys, this is the video that has given me faith in real estate brokers here in Panama. You are going to want to listen to this video. I interview Andrea Cooper with PGS Realty and Mike Kelly with VIP Relocation Tours Panama. They have information that you could find it on other sources, but this one interview is going to cover so much, from learning how to vet your broker. Did you know that there's only a 4% pass rate when the brokers take the test here in Panama? And I'm going to share a tip that you can easily identify if your broker got their license legitimately. So I hope you enjoyed the video. And take notes, because you're going to find a lot of good information. I learned a lot. I've never seen an elevator system like this. You can't select from inside the elevator. You have to select from outside. And I went to the wrong floor. And now I'm hoping that I'm going to get to the right spot. But I'm not really sure. I feel like such a country bumpkin right now. I seriously feel so inept because there's a push system. Oh wait, I think here it is. I think here it is. Go ahead and introduce yourselves to my subscribers.
Good morning, Patty. My name is Andrea Cooper, and I'm the managing partner of PGS Realty, a licensed real estate firm based in Panama City with operations in Coronado and the mountain areas close to the city.
And my name is Mike Kelly. My company is called VIP Relocation Tours Panama, and I do relocation tours and help people in the process of moving to Panama. I take you across the country, show you all of the different areas that you would want to live, introduce you to the professionals you're going to be working with, and overall just provide a service that makes it much easier for you to move to Panama.
I was born and raised in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. I worked for the British Columbia provincial government, and at that time I met a consultant who had won a contract to do tourism training in Costa Rica. So in 1998 I received a job offer from that consultant, and that started my Central American journey. It was supposed to be a 2-year journey, and then I was going to go back to Canada and do my MBA, but in reality I ended up working in the region for now going on 25 years. I did 8 years in Costa Rica in banking and the luxury development sector in terms of resort development and tourism, and I came to Panama in 2005 to work on the country's most prestigious project called Santa Maria Golf and Country Club here in Panama City. And then I was hired to work on the Panama Pacifico redevelopment project of the old Howard Air Force Base. So I've been in the luxury real estate sector in Panama since 2005, and in 2018 I formed my own company, PGS Realty, in partnership with a law firm called PGS Integrated Legal Services, and together we provide full service for legal representation and buyer and seller representation in real estate transactions.
Excellent. Mike, what about you? Where are you from originally, and how did you end up in Panama?
I am originally from Southern California, Orange County, about 2 hours north of Mexico. And I moved to Panama full-time about 12 years ago. I met my wife, who's Panamanian. She was going to school in San Diego. We met in about 2004. I previously lived in Costa Rica for a year, so I was familiar with the region. As soon as I met her, I knew that I wanted to move to Panama. I started coming down here regularly with her from 2005 until we moved permanently in 2012. And when I moved here, I first got into healthcare, so I managed a medical center. It was a primary care medical center. We had all kinds of medical services, but in the process of that, I had met a lot of expats that were looking for English-speaking doctors. We had a full staff of English-speaking medical professionals. So from that, I saw the need to kind of expand, and I started doing relocation tours, helping people not only get connected with English-speaking medical professionals, but also to explore different areas of Panama that they were interested in. And that kind of led into one of the priorities when you're thinking about moving here is to find a place to live. Kind of naturally kind of moved into doing relocation tours. That's actually how I met Andrea. She was very active in the Facebook group. She was the real estate agent that was answering all the comments, answering questions. If there was ever a real estate related question or post in one of the expat groups, she was in there helping people out. I just sent her a message and I said, hey, I'm Mike, this is what I do, and that was it. And from there we started working together, and it's been a great experience for my clients because the alliance that we have allows me to show them everything, and then with Andrea, get all of the information that they need regarding real estate.
Going out on a simple real estate tour doesn't really show you all of the nuances of life in Panama, and we really appreciate what Mike does. When we have clients who aren't sure which part of the country they want to live in, what they can get for a certain price point, we set them up with Mike, and he gives them that comprehensive introduction to different areas of Panama, so they feel very, very confident when it comes time to sign a lease for a rental or a purchase contract that they have seen the best of Panama, and they're very determined to live in that particular area that they've identified with Mike. So it's been a very great relationship that we've had over the years, and I think we are one of the few companies that has this type of relationship where we can offer that full service and very personalized service. Mike only does one-on-one tours, which we love, because there's other companies out there that take people on buses, but it's not the same as that personalized attention that he provides.
Do realtors have to be licensed in order to work in Panama?
It's a really great question, Patty. Yes, Panamanian law requires that realtors is a term invented by the National Association of Realtors. They actually have it trademarked. So we say real estate brokers. Real estate brokers are licensed by the Panamanian government, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. To receive a broker's license in Panama, you have to pass a rigorous exam in Spanish, so you have to be fluent in Spanish. You have to memorize essentially 30 laws and amendments to those laws that are relevant to operating in real estate in the Republic of Panama. The exam has a pass rate of 4% on the first attempt, 20% on the second attempt. A lot of people who are real estate brokers take multiple attempts to pass the exam because it is very, very hard. So not only do you have to be fluent in Spanish to be able to digest these laws and apply them during the exam, you have to have an amazing memory to be able to come up with these little details that ensure a successful result on the real estate exam. Real estate brokers are bonded in Panama as well. We have to seek a bond, and that has to be renewed every year in order for our license to remain active. It's very important for real estate brokers who are true professionals to join the board, the real estate board, which is called ACOBIR in Spanish, and they make us aware of any amendments to the laws. Our company, PGS Realty, is part of a law firm called PGS Integrated Legal Services, which specializes in real estate and immigration. So this helps us, our brokers on staff, to be current with the latest laws, because our lawyers are also receiving that information. I would say 90% of my clients come from personal referrals of clients who have been happy with my service and recommended my company to newcomers to Panama and neighbors and friends. Our business is based almost solely on referrals, which is a blessing. We're very happy that we've been able to place so many people in their new homes in Panama, and that they've recommended us to their friends and family.
What about someone like me? When I first arrived, I wasn't so lucky. The person I was referred to ended up not being trustworthy. So how would someone new to Panama, how would they kind of vet a broker?
A lot of newcomers to Panama join the Facebook groups for expats in Panama. For example, we have a group that Mike actually started called Panama City Expats.
And locals.
And locals. It's all inclusive.
You don't want to exclude the locals, yeah.
And there's an amazing group in the beach area called All Things Coronado. There's another one for Gorgona. There's Expats in Panama Active. There's a number of Facebook groups. I know Facebook is kind of passé with the younger generations, but people who are looking to relocate to Panama tend to be 40 plus, and they are still active Facebook users. So joining the expat groups, asking for recommendations of real estate brokers, that's important. If you review the archives, if you just join a group and then go into the archives and type in real estate, you'll see the same names keep popping up again and again, and that helps direct you towards the people who are considered true professionals in the industry. You want to make sure that that person is bilingual. Obviously, they would have to be bilingual to pass the real estate test and have a valid license, but the intricacies of Panamanian real estate law are immense. It is not the same as doing real estate in Canada or the United States. And you need a person who is solid in their knowledge of how real estate works in Panama and who can explain it to you in terms that you're going to understand as a Canadian, American, or European coming in. It's not an easy process, especially when it comes to things like escrow, which we do not have in Panama in the same capacity that you have in North America, for example. Your real estate broker becomes your guide through the process, and they should be with you every step of the way. Unfortunately, there's quite a few people in the industry who just believe their job is to open the door, get a deal signed, and then they walk away. They abandon you and they leave you with your lawyer, and the process just takes longer. It's very confusing. We are with our clients from beginning to end through the entire process. We work in tandem with banks for financing. We work in tandem with the lawyers for the buyers and the sellers. We're basically an orchestra conductor to make sure all the pieces come together and that the deal closes in a timely manner. Because if it's left to run its own course without the orchestra conductor, it's really a long and drawn out process. So we have to be on top of things. Government agencies are slower than they would be in North America, for example. So we just have to keep pushing everyone involved in the transaction to bring it to a close. A lot of people are tempted by pre-construction deals in Panama. There's a lot of glitzy marketing online, and some projects are good and some projects are not, and some developers are reputable and some are not. But if you're a newcomer to Panama, how are you to know the reputation of that developer? Someone such as myself, who's been in this industry now in Panama going on 19 years, who has worked in development in the past, who knows the ins and outs, who knows about developers' contracts, what to watch for, how you should be protected by Panamanian law when you enter into such an agreement is important. And more importantly is the track record. There's essentially 5 developers that I work with, and I tend not to work with anyone else just because of their integrity, and especially when it comes to post-sales service. Developers are very notorious here for over-promising, under-delivering, handing you the keys, and good luck, you're on your own. We want to put our clients in the hands of developers with a good track record and a reputation for following up on service after the unit is delivered.
What kind of trends are you seeing in Panama City now in terms of condo development? I'm assuming that's probably the biggest development that happens in Panama City, not so much
Yes.
single-family home construction.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
The price of land in Panama City is sky high because we have a limited land base for development. We've got the ocean to the south, the protected area of the canal to the north, the watershed. That leaves us 7 kilometers for development between the ocean and the canal. So there's this very narrow strip that runs from west to east. Panamanian middle-income, lower-income housing is happening in the extremes, in the east and the west, and somewhat to the north of the city. Luxury development is very much focused on the waterfront. However, we are running out of waterfront property in Panama. Expats tend to gravitate towards Casco Viejo, the old town, which is being built out at a rapid rate, and that's a limited land base for development too. The area of Costa del Este, out on the east side of Panama City, is undergoing an amazing boom in construction right now. That's where we're seeing a lot of pre-construction projects at the luxury level. Downtown, because there's very few lots left for development, what we're seeing is development of micro apartments, which is really interesting. These are apartments that are around 50 to 70 square meters, 1 or 2 bedrooms, very compact style living, very efficient units. People from Asian countries, countries like Brazil, are very used to this size of space. For Americans and Canadians, it's a bit of an adjustment going to a micro model, but they work really well for real estate investors. The returns on investment are quite high when you're dealing with a micro apartment because your carrying costs are very low. You pay very little in property taxes, you pay very little in maintenance fees, so they bring a very good return. So we've been doing a pretty brisk business in micro apartments lately as well.
Tell me a little bit about what you're seeing in terms of return on investment in condos in Panama City.
Okay, that's a fantastic question. First, I want to clarify that there is a law in place that prevents short-term rentals in the District of Panama. That is essentially Greater Panama City. It extends from Tocumen Airport all the way to the canal. So to do rentals, either via Airbnb, VRBO, any sort of platform, or even private rentals, for under 45 days is prohibited by law in Panama City, unless the building itself has a tourism license for the entire building. And I think I can count the number of buildings that have that on one hand right now for Panama City. So in reality, what we're looking for is return on investment on a long-term rental versus a short-term model. The short-term model works really well at the beach area, areas around Coronado in particular, where there's a high demand for weekend rentals by locals and holiday rentals. And then obviously during the high season of Panama, the nicest weather months, which would be January through April, huge demand from the snowbirds who fly down from Canada and the US and want to be a long-term renter in the beach area. So talking about the city itself, we're looking at properties that are attractive for those who are here to work with multinational corporations. There's over 275 registered multinational corporations in Panama itself. So that attracts a lot of very well-educated, highly paid foreign executives who are here working for those companies. We also have a huge diplomatic mission here in Panama. Most embassies are present because of the canal. We also have a huge operation by the United Nations here in Panama, so that brings in a lot of really well-qualified renters too. So when I'm working with an investor who wants to get a maximum return on investment, we look for apartments generally because they return better than houses in areas that these expats want to live in, and those are predominantly waterfront, sometimes in the old town, sometimes out in Costa del Este where most of the multinationals have their offices. So we are able to find them properties that are in high demand with renters who are going to be very professional and very responsible. In terms of what you can expect in return on investment, we say a net of 5% or higher is ideal. This is not a place where you're going to make a 10% ROI. You have to consider that you're going to be paying property management fees, brokerage fees for the broker who finds that qualified renter. You're going to be paying some property tax in cases where there isn't an exoneration on property tax in place, and you're going to have some ongoing expenses for maintenance and repairs. So a 5% net of those expenses is considered good in Panama.
This question comes up a lot. People saying, oh, I'm going to retire in 10 years. Should I buy property now? How would you advise someone who was thinking about, maybe getting a condo in the city and renting it out? Would that be a viable option for them?
We deal with a lot of people who have that plan, exactly, and the timing is good. And my recommendation would be better now than later, because what we're seeing is a rebound from the price drop that we saw during COVID. We've actually had a couple of price drops in Panama. Panama was really booming in the early 2000s. There were a lot of Venezuelans coming into Panama. They could sense what was going on in their country. Apparently 400,000 moved into Panama in the early 2000s to the mid-teens. And that created a bubble. To be completely honest, it created a bubble in Panama City real estate. That ended in about 2014, 2015. We saw the Venezuelan effect drop off. People couldn't get their money out of Venezuela anymore. We'd had the global collapse, the global economic collapse in 2008, which really didn't affect us in Panama, but it really came into play later on when suddenly we're not getting as many investors coming into Panama as we had hoped for. So prices dropped in about 2016, and then in 2019, things started to improve. Things were rosy, and then ta-da, 2020 COVID, and then we saw drops of up to about 20% in value on properties. A lot of people were desperate. They had all of their home was their entire asset basically, and they needed liquidity to move on. Their businesses had failed. A lot of, particularly the Venezuelans, wanted to move to other countries, and they needed to sell, and they needed to sell cheap. So this created a downward effect on pricing. I'm happy to say that now the prices that we're seeing, particularly in high-end communities in Panama City, have come back to 2019 levels, and they're climbing rapidly. So if you are thinking of making a property purchase in Panama City in particular, there's not a lot of fire sales anymore. Prices are going up quite steadily. Average appreciation in Panama City is about 3 to 4% a year. It's not ideal for flipping. but it is ideal for holding a property for a long period of time and then either reselling in the future after a prudent amount of time and getting that 5% return on investment in the meantime, or moving into it yourself and having enough income to cover your costs and then some in the city.
What do you think the ideal timeline would be for someone who wanted to get purchase a condo now? Would it be like, oh, in 5 years I'm going to retire, 10 years, or 15 years?
A broker's knowledge of buildings that are well administered and well maintained comes into play. I live in a building that's now 14 years old, and it looks like the day that it was delivered, for example, and it's one that I recommend very highly. There are other buildings around town that have amazing boards of directors and administrators who keep it in tip-top shape. They do take special assessments from time to time and redo the social areas. They redo the gym with new equipment. They retile the pool. So it really comes down to finding a building that is holding its value in Panama City, and a licensed professional broker will know which are the buildings that have that reputation.
Absolutely, that makes so much sense.
Part of our due diligence process is also getting you copies of the minutes of the homeowner general assemblies and copies of the budget, so you can see if a building is in the black or in the red. That's really important as well when you're doing your due diligence on the property. At the beach area, a lot of people are part-time users of their properties. So they will use it usually during high season, and then they'll try and find renters during low season. You can do short-term rentals in the beach area in most buildings. There are some that prohibit that activity, and you have to be aware of that. Again, a licensed broker can tell you these are the projects to stay away from if you want to do some short-term rentals to offset your costs. In the city, it's generally a question of neighborhoods where you'll see the values are increasing exponentially versus other neighborhoods. But there are still good deals to be had. You just have to work with a professional who knows, these pockets and where the opportunities arise. One thing I wanted to mention to you, Patty, it's very hard to do internet research on real estate in Panama. Most listings are not published online. They're not available to the public. For example, I'm in 400 different WhatsApp groups related to real estate. So I'm in groups that have been set up by licensed brokers, and they invite people they like to do business with. I'm in 400 of them. I get 11,000 messages a day, I kid you not. And this is how we make the magic happen. So when we have a buyer who says, I'm looking for a 1-bedroom waterfront condo, $250,000, they could go online and look at some of the online portals. What they're going to find are a lot of outdated listings for units that are no longer available, or they're going to be subject to a bait and switch. Unfortunately, there are unscrupulous real estate agents out there advertising properties that don't exist anymore. You call, they say, oh, I just sold it, or I just rented it, but I'll get you another one. The reality is we like to deal with other agents, other brokers who have the property in hand, a property that exists. So when I'm doing a search for a client, I publish their requirements, and then I get immediate offers from other agents and other brokers in Panama, and that's how we put together deals. I'd say 90% of the properties on the market are not published. So if you want to have access to those properties, then you do have to go through a professional licensed broker who is a member of these private groups as well. The number of professional brokers in the beach and mountain area is small compared to the city. In the city, there's 4,000 of us.
Yeah.
Okay, and in the beach and mountain area, there's actually very few licensed brokers operating in that area. I'm a part of a group that our company actually set up to work with people who are ethical and licensed, and we place properties amongst ourselves. So when we have a buyer looking for a mountain home, we publish in our group, and we do have other brokers in the group who represent mountain properties. But yes, they're generally not advertised, and they're placed privately. The reason that they're not published is that there's kind of a monopoly on real estate classified ads, to put it mildly, and I'm not going to name names, but the cost of advertising on those sites has become so prohibitive. Individual brokers, independent professionals can't afford it. Many companies have dropped out of using those ads because of the atrocious prices that they charge. We still participate, but it is a big chunk of our marketing budget, and we find that private placement through the broker groups is actually a better way to go than on these advertising portals. So that's why you see very few properties advertised, because independent brokers can't afford to do it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that the value of real estate brokers here is very overlooked. First of all, if you're doing that, there's going to be and you're an expat that doesn't speak Spanish, you have a big language barrier there. So you're going to go try to find the owner and communicate with this person and set up a real estate transaction. It's not as easy as some people make it out to be. Also, this, the risk. I mean, you need to, you're going to be dealing directly with an owner with a building that you know nothing about. So what a real estate broker does is they know about the buildings. They can advise you on what are the good buildings are, the buildings that aren't. I mean, there are a lot of factors that come into that. So the idea that you're just going to drive around and find owners and do deals with them directly, it's just not realistic. You can do it, okay, but it's going to be a nightmare. Just driving around Panama City by yourself, I mean, that's an adventure in itself. Everyone knows how it is to drive around. But the thing is with real estate brokers is they're professionals and it's a full service. What about contract review? If you try to go direct with an owner, who's going to help you with that contract? You can hire an attorney, but why not have a real estate broker that is very up to speed on these contracts, on lease agreements, that can give you good advice. So it's just the convenience of it, finding a good broker that can get you out there and get it done versus you spending days, weeks, months, however long it's going to take you to run around and try to find something by yourself. It just doesn't make sense. It makes so much more sense to find a good real estate broker. Obviously, the Facebook groups help. As we touched on before, the key to finding a good professional in these groups is look at the comments. So many people put feedback in these groups about who they should work with, asking questions like, who's a good real estate broker? Go down in those comments. Tap into the experience of other expats that have gone through it. Use someone that's tried and true, has a good reputation.
Tell my subscribers a little bit about the MLS system here in Panama.
The MLS system in Panama gets a bad rap, and it's been in place for about 14 years now, I believe, but it's really started to take shape only in the last few years and gain force. We have 400 members of the real estate board, ACOBIR, who are actively involved in the MLS. I participate in the MLS, and I've been very, very happy with the results. We've actually made quite a few deals happen through the MLS. How it's different from standard real estate procedures in Panama is the following. To get your property on the MLS, you have to grant an exclusivity contract. So there is one brokerage firm or one licensed broker representing you, the seller, in the process, or you, the landlord, in the process. So you do have to sign an exclusivity agreement. It is for a 6-month minimum period. And then with that, the property is published on the multiple listing service, and then it is sent out to all of the 400 members who participate in the system. It's also syndicated on a national and international level so that the listing is replicated on 43 different local and international websites, including realtor.com and Point2 Homes, which are major portals for US business. So we've actually done deals in the Coronado and Beaches area for American buyers who were looking for a beach property on American websites, and then they were connected to us because our MLS listing was syndicated on those US websites. So it does work. It is a guaranteed way to deal with the true professionals in Panama. Most of the members of ACOBIR are among the top professionals in the industry. They're serious, they're bonded, they're licensed. That's a requirement to be a part of ACOBIR. And they are really representing properties that are in tip-top condition, and also they have to have a good legal standing. The listings are reviewed to make sure the property doesn't have liens or anything on it, and that's how those properties are eventually published on the MLS site. So we highly recommend it. Comps are a little bit hard because it is in its infancy. So yes, in certain buildings where there have been a number of MLS listings, we can go back, but it's not like the US where you can just click on a button and it'll tell you all the sales in the 1 block radius of the area that you're looking for. Unfortunately, we're not that sophisticated yet. It needs to be populated, but the system has been growing exponentially year over year. It's been really great, and we're using it almost exclusively in our seller representation because we do see the results. It's really nice for the seller as well to know that they're only dealing with one person, and that person is going to bat for their interests, and that person is controlling the showings. So if you're going to give your key to somebody, you have to know that that person is responsible for making sure the blinds are down, the ACs are off, your door is properly locked, for reporting any problems in the unit. If you try and give your property to multiple people at the same time, that often spells trouble because you don't have a control over who's coming and going generally. You don't have a control over pricing and information that's divulged by that person. So you may tell each and every broker, okay, my sales price is $250, I'll take $230. You'll get some agents who go out there and publish it at $230 right out of the gate, not respecting the fact that you have authorized a price of $250. So the MLS avoids all of that. You're dealing with one person who represents your interests, and they work in collaboration with the other members of the real estate board. They share the commission, but they're representing your side 100%. And they're representing your interests. There's one channel of communication and one channel of responsibility. For example, we have a great relationship with other real estate brokers, both in the city and the beaches area and other areas of the country. So we can go out and ask in our groups, hey, has anyone sold a unit in this particular condo building recently? What's the going rate? And we can get that information informally through our connections. We can also go into the public registry. When we're dealing with a condominium residence, it's pretty easy for us to go in and open up entries and see what the last sales were in that building and give you some information. When it's standalone house, it's incredibly different. We have to really rely on professionals in the appraisal field. So we strongly recommend a property appraisal for sellers who are selling a unique home. For example, a condominium that's been extensively renovated. It's hard for us to get a comp on that. So we recommend an appraisal at that point. Also for a standalone home that's not part of a gated community or a condominium residence, that's when an appraisal comes in and is very, very valuable. I don't take on sellers of ROP properties just because of the headache that ensues. It's extremely high risk, and as a business, we choose not to be involved in that.
Is there ROP in Panama City?
Not generally. There are concessions in Panama City on the islands. For example, on the islands in Amador, there are concession properties. So you have basically a land lease for 40 years from the government, and then at the end of that lease, they may or may not renew, depending on the conditions of the concession. Concession is a little bit less risky than ROP. Rights of possession, you could buy those rights of possession and then a long lost relative can show up and then you end up in a legal battle over who it really belongs to. We simply don't touch that. There's areas of Panama where that is rife and we don't go there.
Yeah.
We stay in the areas that generally have the clear title, or if there is a concession, that concession is well documented and our clients are able to review the contracts with the government and know what they're getting into.
Makes sense.
Yes. One of the most common misconceptions that I hear with my relocation clients is that the assumption that getting a mortgage or financing property is the same as doing it in the United States or Canada or wherever they're coming from. And the truth is it's not. It's, you know, if you were going to invest in Panama, the majority of our clients are paying cash. You can finance, but it's a little bit more complicated, and there are only a few banks that even do it. So it's not, Gary, you know, not all banks will provide financing for foreigners. So there are only a few banks that'll even do it. Most banks will not provide financing for foreigners. So you have to know which banks those are. There's a lot of details that go into that. Andrea is the one that really, that I refer to when it comes to that, because she knows the banks, you know, she knows how the financing works, how much money you have to put down. Usually what you have to put down is much more than you would normally. So Andrea can go into a little bit more detail on that.
Yeah, it's very difficult for a foreigner to obtain financing. Most banks in Panama require you to have 2 years of declared income, so you have to fill out Panamanian income tax forms. If you're earning money abroad, they're not going to take that into consideration in most cases. There are a couple of banks who are now working with American and Canadian clients, but the rates are pretty oppressive, to put it mildly. You're looking at about 8 to 9% interest rate. And when we tell our American or Canadian clients that, their eyebrows shoot through the roof, and we say, you know, if there's any way you can refinance your home in the States, take a line of credit, if there's a way to beg, borrow, steal, and bring that cash to Panama, you're so much better off. There's other things that go into play in Panama. As a foreigner, if you're lucky enough to find a bank that will lend to you, they're going to require 30 or 40% down payment out of the gate. They also have an age limitation. So we get a lot of clients who are coming in their pre-retirement, retirement years, assuming they can get a mortgage. No way. The banks will not lend to anyone over 65 years of age. They won't consider pension income as a source of income. So it's very, very restrictive. So we tell people if there's any way to make it happen on your end and bring the cash to Panama, that is definitely the way to go. Another thing important to keep in mind, mortgage rates in Panama are adjustable. There are no fixed rates. So it can go up or down. Right now we're at a very high point in mortgage rates. Like a lot of our foreign clients, if they have a mortgage, are paying around 8%. We've seen it dip down as low as about 6.5, but that's really as low as it can go. And it can go higher. There's no floor or ceiling. So something to keep in mind. A lot of people will go for developer financing, which sounds very attractive, and it could be a good option in many cases. But the thing about developer financing, it is not the same as a private mortgage. You are entering into an extended sales contract with that developer over multiple years. And they continue to own title to that unit. You don't get the title on that unit. So you're paying the developer over X number of years. They generally have a very easy exit clause. If you manage to get financing from another source or you're able to pay it off, then certainly that's a very valid program for a lot of people, especially when they need a bridge loan and that type of thing. Until they sell their home in Canada or the US, the developer financing can work out very well. You are going to be paying very high interest rates, pretty much on par with what I just mentioned on the banks. The difference is you're not going to have title to the unit, whereas if you do traditional bank financing, your name will appear on the title and then the mortgage will be affixed to the property record.
So what you're offering is really unique, I think, in that it's a totally customizable relocation tour. Give me an example of what someone could expect, a conversation beforehand, and then what do you do when they get here, especially if they want to see different parts of Panama?
Yeah, I mean, as the name of my company suggests, I mean, my tours are VIP. They're totally customized. It's the only option to do a private tour of the whole country. You can do just Panama City, or you can do just the beach towns, anywhere you want to go, based on exactly what you're looking for. Most of my clients have done a lot of research, so they're up to speed on these different areas. If they haven't been here, they know a lot about each area. When they contact me, they're really looking for, one thing they look for is my guidance. Like, give me, this is what I've heard about Panama City. Is that true? And so I kind of take them through there. So before every tour, I get on a phone call. So, I'll sit and talk for an hour or more, as long as it takes, to really nail down what they want, because the idea is that they have an experience that's gonna show them and let them feel what it's like to live here. So we talk about, and generally, my clients are really, they want to move down here to live a better life. They want to rent. If they want to rent, it's going to be an oceanfront condo with an amazing view. And if they want to buy, same thing. They're looking for something that's nice. They're coming from the United States or Canada or wherever they want to leave for whatever reason, but they are coming here to live better. So one of the things that I do, we nail down all the details so that when they come here, they are going to see everything that they want to see, and it's going to be an experience 100% tailored to their needs. It's not just looking at property. I had a client recently that wanted to go deep sea fishing. So I know a lot of charter boat captains. So the first day we were looking at real estate. In day 2 of the tour, we actually went out off the coast here of Panama City and went fishing. Caught a bunch of yellowfin and marlin. So, things like that, that I can implement into my tours, whatever you want. If it's not fishing, you want to go sailing. If you want to go to San Blas, I can integrate all of that stuff into my tour. So my tours are from 1 day up to 8. I recently did a tour from Panama City to Boquete, but included in that was a day in Taboga Island. We went fishing in Gatun Lake. So you can actually go and catch peacock bass in Gatun Lake. Not many people know that. There are just a lot of different things that based on what you want to do, we can go visit waterfalls, we go on hikes, go visit the Panama Canal, the Miraflores Visitor Center. If you come to Panama, that's like something that you have to do. You got to go check out the canal. It's amazing. It's not only a relocation tour experience, it's also like a vacation. And that's the idea, we can integrate those two. So at the end, you end up, having just an amazing experience.
Plus, it sounds like it's condensed time where, if you did it on your own, that could take weeks or months,
Yeah.
or many visits. but you're able to really give someone a lot of
Yeah.
information.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of people say that you don't need a relocation tour, that you can just go down and run around by yourself. If you wanted to fast track it and tap into someone with a lot of experience that knows the country, that can get you through the entire country to see exactly what you want to see, then a relocation tour is a great option. And I've been doing this for over 6 years, from Panama City all the way to Boquete. I know Panama like the back of my hand, and I love doing this because I also had to go through all of that. I moved here 12 years ago, and there were no relocation tour options, so I learned the hard way. I fumbled a lot of things and made a lot of mistakes, and so I've learned from that, and I can pass on that knowledge which to my clients, which I love to do. So the idea is with what I do, VIP Relocation Tours, it's really just the most convenient, high quality experience, personalized, and by the end you're going to be like, okay, I know what it would be like to live here. I know how much it's going to cost for me to rent an apartment or buy an apartment in an area that I want to live in. And I think that's really my goal, is to help you get to that point. Well, that's the thing about Panama City too. There are just so many hidden gems, like restaurants, coffee shops, Casco Viejo, Old Town, one of my favorite parts of Panama City. You can walk up and down those streets for days and keep finding new places. I've been spending time there for 12 years, and I keep finding new places I didn't know existed. So it's just the charm of the city, and like knowing where to go, having someone to kind of give you tips and all that. There are different ways to find it, but my tours, I take you and I say, hey, this is one of the best coffee shops here. You got the Panamanian local food. It's always nice to go into the local spots. There's so many options in the city, and then in the other towns too, like in the beach towns, you have some amazing places to eat, and that goes for Boquete. Boquete is a gastronomic experience. In Boquete, you're in higher elevation, it's cooler. Some people want to get out of the heat, so they like it there. You have good food, but you're far from the beach. So how do you know if you can live that far from the beach? Well, you might want to try it out. If you want to. And the good thing about the process is you come, you do a tour with me, and you get introduced to each area, you learn about it, you see what's available. Then when you move to Panama, you can live in each place if you want. It doesn't matter, you can live there for a month and then move to the next place. You can live there for 6 months, a year. That's totally up to you. But you have that freedom to move around and try each place. And at the end of the day, if you do that, you have the best, all the knowledge that you need and all the experience by doing that to know what your spot is. A lot of people do that, and it's great to see.
So you have a background in healthcare. Tell me about that, and you have a specific offering that nobody else does in your relocation tour.
Yes, my background in healthcare goes back to about 2012 when I moved here. I opened a medical center. So it was a primary care medical center and clinical lab. And I managed that for about 6 years. I had a full staff, general doctors, nurses, lab technicians, imaging. That was what, for the first 6 years in Panama, I was dedicated to that. And during that time, we started to have a lot of expats come into our medical center for care because our general doctors spoke perfect English. So, I saw this need among the expat community for English-speaking medical professionals, because when you move to Panama and you have health needs that need to be addressed, the communication is key. There can't be any barriers to communication when it comes to your health. I noticed this, and I expanded out beyond the clinic. I stopped managing the clinic, hired staff to do that for me, so that I could create like a concierge style service where you could find English speaking doctors. You could get with a doctor on a video call consultation, or like telemedicine. We had doctors available that could go to your house and do house calls. We had all these resources and all these professionals and different facilities that I had gotten to know over my time managing this clinic. It allowed me to create a new, like, high quality concierge service. And when I started doing relocation tours, this started to become implemented in my actual tours. So now, not only can you go and find the real estate that you're looking for and explore all of these different communities, but you can be introduced to your doctors, English speaking, general doctors, any specialists that you need. Visit the hospitals, such as we have a lot of really good hospitals here in Panama City. You've got the John Hopkins affiliated with Pacifica Salud. You have Paitia Hospital, which is affiliated with the Cleveland Clinic. I mean, and 3 or 4 more, like in a 10-minute radius of each other. So your healthcare options in Panama City are really good. And so if that's something that you need, it's part of your tour. It's not, there's not a specific tour for healthcare, but it's just, like I said before, it's comprehensive, where that's just part of the entire tour, and it's totally based on what you need. So that's something that I'm probably the only relocation company that's doing that, and that's because of my experience in healthcare. So it's been very helpful for a lot of people.
So you can go have the steak and then go get your cholesterol check.
That's right. I mean, come on, it's perfect. It's just a seamless experience.
It's so invaluable for anyone considering relocation to Panama to do one of the personalized tours that Mike offers, because there are a lot of misconceptions about healthcare, about education, about social activities, even shopping, things like that. And we find that when Mike finally brings us a client who is ready to commit to signing a lease or entering into a purchase agreement, they are very grounded. They know everything they need to know about Panama. They're very confident in their decision. And that's, the difference between someone who comes off a plane and is kind of floundering around trying to figure out where they fit in, and they may take the first opportunity and not be happy. This way they get a comprehensive overview of the country, of a particular region or a particular neighborhood by somebody who's been living here and experiencing the expat experience over so many years, and has had his children in the school system here, who has used the private and public hospitals, and is very knowledgeable about all things Panama. So we find that when Mike's clients come and are ready to make that next step in committing to a residence in Panama, they are extremely confident with moving forward, and they tend to stay for a long period of time if they're renters, because they know they've made the right decision. They've taken the time, they've invested the money, they've done the due diligence, they've had all their questions answered, and they go into it with eyes wide open. They have realistic expectations about how rental agreements work, how the purchase process comes along, and we find that the success rate is very, very high when they have invested in the relocation tours.
Excellent. It sounds like you guys have a really good partnership for people who want to come learn about the country and, find where they're going to call home. And I just want to thank you both for your time and expertise. I have learned a lot by chatting with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you for the opportunity. We can chat anytime.
Yeah, anytime.
We can talk all day about real estate.